welcome everyone to the joint meeting between Bainbridge, the Bainbridge unit and the North Kitsap unit. And our special guest speakers today are Rosalind and Rhonda and Judy. They'll be sharing their committee's report on the importance of 0 to 3 education and childcare. And then following that, Maury will spend a minute or two talking about our upcoming annual meeting, which hopefully you can all consider attending. And then the North Kitsap unit will drop off and start their own meeting. And Bainbridge Islanders, if you can stay on, we're going to talk a little bit about our upcoming speakers. So with that, I pass the baton.
All right. Well, oops, I've got to get rid of, got it. Okay, there we go. Well, I will start off, and I'll start off by, I'm Rosalind Menard, of course, and I'm chair of the 0 to 3 committee. And I prefer the title of coordinator. I really do, as this has really been a very cooperative endeavor. None of us could have done it without each other. My personal reasons for interest in early learning stem from the time my children were in nursery school. The school had a very advanced and well-trained director who not only handled the children well, but educated the parents in child development. Later on, I oversaw a series of columns in our local paper, the Garden City News in Long Island, New York, written by directors of our local nursery schools, and there were 7 of them at the time, explaining what was included in their curricula and why. Not long afterwards, I was appointed to the board of the Child Care Council of Nassau County, Long Island, New York. And at that time, I had the opportunity to learn about a lot about early child development, with much of the information coming from the University of Washington, which I later found out was the Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences, otherwise known as iLabs. The UW was and still is one of the leading institutions researching child development. One day, being worried about the dire test scores in education with too many children being left behind, it occurred to me that education has to start with babies. And I've been at it ever since. So, Rhonda or Judy?
I'm Judy Kasnick. My interest in this committee comes from a passion for speech language development and developmental psychology. I came to Posbo in 1970 after completing my degree at the University of Oregon in speech pathology and audiology, taking a job with the North Kitsap School District as a speech therapist. While finishing my last year at the University of Oregon, my 3 and 4.5-year-old daughters at the time were able to take part in an experimental preschool, which was really interesting. In later years, I served as a speech therapist for the Head Start program for a year, and that you will find that referenced in our upcoming material. Later, 2 more children, sons, participated in the Olympic College Parent-Child Preschool and were in Montessori up through kindergarten. Some years later, I completed a graduate degree in marriage and family therapy, coming to specialize in trauma-related issues. And I want you to think ACEs, which you also will become familiar with through our program. And that'll do it for me. Thank you. Rhonda?
Rhonda, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Knew I would do that. I want to thank everyone for letting us share information with you today. My interest in the area of early childhood and family began in the 70s as an undergrad at the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Since then, I've worked in the field in several programs over the years as teacher, program director, teacher trainer, and as a parent. I retired in 2016 after about 30 years working with childcare at Joint Base Lewis McChord. And I believe, as I think my fellow committee members do, that the early years of life are critical to each of us as individual human beings, to our families, to our community, and to society. Understanding early brain development has been and always will be important. The wonderful phrase, "It takes a village to raise a child," has never been truer. So we're going to get started now. I appreciate your patience as I share screens with you. We have a PowerPoint slides and then also a short video that we'll share. Doing Zoom has certainly been a learning curve. So let me start this. There we go. Take it away, Judy.
Okay. The members of the 0 to 3 Committee of League of Women Voters Kitsap share a strong belief in the importance of the first few months and years of a child's life, years that are critical for learning and functioning as members of a complex society. This committee set about to research this topic, including the resources in our community and beyond that support the earliest moments of a child's life. One of the first places we visited was the University of Washington Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences, also known as iLabs, a treasury of research and resources. We've taken full advantage of their generosity with materials, some of which will be shared during this presentation. We also met with numerous other agencies to develop an understanding of the wide spectrum of resources in Kitsap County, which became quite a challenge during COVID. We developed a mission statement as well as vision and belief statements that are in alignment with the League of Women Voters Washington and the National League, all of which combine to support the reason for this work. Next slide. Okay.
This is our mission statement: to promote public awareness and legislative action to ensure children from birth to 3 are exposed to the kind of experiences that maximize their brain development during these critical years. Judy.
Okay. The committee's ultimate goal is to work toward having as many children as possible here in Kitsap County have the opportunity for a rewarding and successful life, no matter the economic or social circumstances they are born into. We believe that governmental and community-based programs that offer support for families that are experiencing income or employment issues, housing instability, domestic violence, health challenges, and other high-risk life experiences are crucial to obtaining this goal. Our committee obviously felt strongly about the importance of the first few years of life, but we needed to work out how this feeling related to the real world here in Kitsap County. So we started on a journey of discovery, and it's this journey that we invite you to take with us. The first step was to address the scientific underpinnings of early childhood development. The University of Washington iLabs has done meticulous but gentle research on babies and older children, has come up with wonderful videos called modules. Currently, there are 24 available online, which are updated when necessary, one of which we would like to share with you now. This is the module that tells us why early learning is the key to a child's development. It will take a minute to change gears, but here we go. Okay, in the first section, the question is asked, how does a baby grow into a school-ready child? This will be answered as we move along. As you can see in this slide, a 3-year-old baby brain incredibly is 85% the size of an adult's. Depicted here are the brain's neurons, dendrites, axons, cell body, and synapses that we all have. But the amazing thing is that babies are born with most of the neurons they'll need for the rest of their lives. But not all connections are in place. And each baby must build his own brain and form specific skills. It's these experiences that build a unique brain with specific skills. Interestingly, babies are born with more neurons than they need, and some of these connections will, over time, be removed from the baby's brain. By the way, this also happens in a teenager's brain. Typically, it's around age 2 and in the early teen years that this pruning happens. Oh, sorry, it's called pruning. It is the combination of biology and experience that builds and shapes the brain. One might ask, how do these scientists peer into the brain? Using magnetoencephalography, which is a big long word, so we call it MEG, M-E-G, is one of the ways. We're going to show you a short video here. This is a in a Meg. Whoops.
There we go.
There we go.
Using MEG, we can start to understand how the developing regions of infant brains begin to coordinate and network together. Baby Emma is a young research participant in the MEG machine. She sits quietly as she watches a person wave toys to keep her engaged. As she sits, she is listening to language sounds through tiny headphones. All the while, the MEG is giving a readout of what parts of little Emma's brain are active. With MEG, we gain a rare glimpse into the dynamic brain of a growing, learning child.
Okay. The following images depict the emergence and development of the receptive and expressive speech areas of the baby's brain as identified through MEG imaging from birth through the first year. Initially, there is no activity noted, but gradually the receptive area emerges and becomes stronger as the infant is exposed to caregiver vocalizations. At this stage and in subsequent stages, it is important to talk to the baby regularly. The more stimulation provided, the stronger the development. The emergence of the expressive speech area gradually begins to be visible and strengthens as infant vocalizations occur. Responding to the baby's cooing and other sounds by echoing back encourages social interaction and the beginning attempt at speech sounds. Most babies will have several words by a year of age, usually single syllables such as bye-bye, mama, dada, etc. The most important takeaway from the above is how relationships with parents and caregivers help create the unique child. Supportive relationships are crucial to a child's eventual success in life. Okay.
All right. Okay, now it's my turn. After feeling comfortable about the underpinnings of science, the next step on our journey was to ascertain the actual need. And for this, we turned to two organizations, the Kitsap Coordinating Council and a national organization, excuse me, 0 to 3, both of whom do yearly updates for meaningful statistics. And here are some of the statistics. You have to bear with us a little bit, but we have to do these statistics. It's just part of understanding. Here are some of the statistics quoted from the Kitsap Coordinating Council that show the need. 12% of children in Kitsap County under 5 live in poverty. In Bremerton, it's 17%. In 2022, an estimated 30% of adults experienced 3 or more adverse childhood experiences, also known as ACEs. For those who might not know, ACEs is the term used by professionals to describe abuse and other stressful experiences. 33% is a relatively high amount. In 2019, 815 births, or 35%, were Medicaid funded. Families of children qualifying for child care subsidies for Head Start and Early Head Start must have incomes at or below 130% of the poverty level. The federal poverty level is $26,000 for a family of 3. We really feel this cutoff excludes way too many children that fall just above the poverty level. In 2020 to 2021, approximately 1,046, we say people, because it includes 29 pregnant women, were enrolled in Head Start and Early Head Start programs in Kitsap County. There were also other children that were covered by Early Childhood Education and Assistance Program, which is state-run and starts at 3 years old, and also Kitsap, the Kitsap Tribal Programs. Here are a few more statistics for the state of Washington from the national organization 0 to 3. But do bear in mind that the state of Washington is rated higher than many, many other states. Unstable housing, as we all know, is on the rise. 35% of the population have experienced at least one, if not more, ACE scores. Now, this is the state of Washington. 33% of families in the state of Washington are low-income families or live in poverty. The cost of childcare as a percentage of income of a single parent is a whopping 52%. And only 47% of children in the state of Washington are regularly read to every night. The above are just a few of the factors that impact a child's early development. The stress of poverty and at-risk issues create many more negative factors. Rhonda?
Once we identified the need, our journey became one of searching for where help may be found to address these stress factors. We ended up interviewing 9 agencies and researched other organizations here in Kitsap, and we're deeply impressed by the quality and dedication of their staff. We actually have additional programs that we plan to meet with in the coming couple of months. I also want to mention that in the child care field, salaries for folks working in that are really, really woefully low. And this applies both to folks with advanced degrees as well as nurses and teachers in the field. I know how quickly I'm going to run through a few of these programs, although all are important in some ways. I just want to emphasize a few of them. There's the Olympic College Education, Early Childhood Education Department, Kitsap Community, or Kitsap Public Health, and they house the Nurse Family Partnership, the Olympic Educational Service District, Kitsap Community Resources, Holly Ridge Center, Kitsap Regional Library, Child Care Aware, the State Department of Child, Youth, and Family, the University of Washington iLabs, and we've also reached out to the Port Gamble, Sklallam, and Squamish Tribal Head Start programs, as well as the Department of Navy Early Education and New Parent Support programs. The Nurse Family Partnership provides a home visiting program, and they've had quite a bit of success in the county. The nurses form a partnership with the parents prior to the birth of their infant and make every effort to continue meeting with the parents at least once a week and later on every 2 weeks for the first 1,000 days of the child's life. Both the Olympic Educational Service District and Kitsap Community Resources share the administration of the Early Head Start and Head Start federal programs, and that's based on geographical areas in the county. Both of these organizations work with children birth to 3 and do home visiting with the families. And they do stay in close communication with the parents and offer developmental screenings when necessary. The Holly Ridge Center also works with children 0 to 3 with developmental issues and problems. The work is so important that the military will often relocate families here to Kitsap County to take advantage of the services that Holly Ridge offers. And then also Child Care Aware is a statewide agency that provides training for child care providers and personnel and helps families find quality child care and also works to provide subsidies for low-income families. Okay, Rosalind.
Okay, the next slide. As we neared the end of our journey, it became obvious that although the state of Washington was more advanced than many, we could not avoid keeping track of and indeed promoting legislative bills affecting early learning and childcare. Last year in 2021, a Senate bill, the Fair Start for Kids Act, was signed into law. It was a bill that meaningfully increased funding for childcare, early learning, and home visiting on many levels. The implementation of the bill will require close scrutiny as it would be rolled out over a number of years. From a budgetary view, the bill fared well at this last legislative session. Senate Bill 5838, concerning a diaper subsidy for parents or other caregivers that receive temporary assistance for needy families, TANF, was also passed. Diaper purchases were a heavy burden for these families. This year, Senate Bill 5630, concerning statutory expansion of early learning, was also introduced. This bill did not progress, but was seen by many as an introduction and might be taken up next year. Recently, the 0.1% tax for affordable housing was passed in the county and will be a help for families struggling to find and or keep housing. Now, the national legislation being considered by Congress and formerly known as the Build Back Better bill has been watered down and broken into pieces. It may possibly provide childcare relief for parents and caregivers. But to its credit, the state of Washington passed a parental leave bill in 2017, and thankfully it was refunded by the legislature. Nationally, parental leave may be a long time in coming. Some other advocacy opportunities that we feel are really quite important are childcare subsidies and the availability of childcare should be increased way above the present levels. Salaries for childcare workers should be significantly increased. We should continue to promote as much as possible the importance of prenatal care, early learning, and parental education and involvement. And we should also give continued support for mental and related medical services for mothers and babies. Judy?
When we reach the end of our journey of research, otherwise known as the 0 to 3 project for our League of Women Voters Kitsap, we prepared a report that can be accessed at the League's website. We also created a bookmark and flyers in English and Spanish that help prospective and new parents find the help that they need to raise their babies. And we are in the process of distributing these locally to some of the identified air agencies and whatnot that might be receptive. But our journey is not yet ended. We have new goals and dreams, such as having brain development taught through a high school science or family living course, developing more public education efforts about early child care in Kitsap County, see that every child and mother receive welcoming information at the time of birth. And that might include a welcome box that would contain a raising baby book for mother and a baby's first book and interactive toys, something like a ball or stacking blocks. We have placed I'm not sure this is something that I'm supposed to say, but anyway, I will. We placed 4 PDF handout files in the chat to share. They include Nurse Family Partnership Successes, iLab's Help for Parents, and our own flyer in English and Spanish. Okay. We want to acknowledge the League of Women Voter members who have contributed to this work. You see those on your screen. Our story has ended, and we want to thank you for sharing your time and attention by giving us this opportunity to share our project. We hope you will join us in encouraging parents to take advantage of what is available to help them, and also to join us in our advocacy for ever improving child care and early learning. And our committee welcomes new members. Okay.
And that's the end of our story. But I just want to add one thing, and we're rather happy about this. We have been distributing our flyers, and we did to the social workers over at St. Michael's. They were extremely receptive to the flyers and are adding those to the packets that they send home with new mothers. So we've had some little success that we're happy about, and we're hoping for more. So I just wanted to add that. So anyway, we're open for questions. Delight?
In one of your goals, you said you wanted to do more public education. How do you plan to go about doing that?
Well, right now we're talking to KRL. We hope to do that. We also are, I've just sent a letter to Kitsap Strong. I finally was able to watch the meeting that took place in March with Kitsap Strong. And we noticed that there are many things that we're aligned with, many goals that we are aligned with Kitsap Strong. So I just sent a letter to them welcoming a Zoom conference with them. And also, I have just been in contact with KRL, and we're thinking about something that could be done at the library, in the library system. So that's what we're doing. Susan?
I would think that maybe it would be worthwhile to be in touch with the Bremerton Housing Authority and think if they would allow a presentation to be held in some of their housing places.
Well, I wouldn't know how to go about it. Could you help with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have contact with the person who's head of the Bremerton Housing Authority. When I go to the NAACP's Vital Conversations that are held on every other Tuesday, there are a lot of people there who probably it would be good to hear about this and see if any would invite you. People from Kitsap Strong, people from KRL, people from the Bremerton Housing Authority, people from Kitsap Community Resources, or the head of all those organizations, Kitsap Mental Health. And so I think just having a presentation of some sort at that meeting could then have them try to figure out how they could be of help to you. So I can, ask, you can figure out a Tuesday at 5:30. And I think it's the first and third Tuesday of the month. I'll have to check and see if we can ask for, 15 minutes for you to give a small presentation, probably not the whole thing, but just so that they know what's going on.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Well, if we were to do that, we would probably want to emphasize the why we're doing it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
because that's really important to know.
Yeah. I did put the handouts that Judy mentioned. I put those into the chat if anyone wants to download those or copy them to share.
I think Lenny's raised her hand.
Yeah, I tried to save the chat. So this is a question to you, Colette. It won't let me save it. Do you have to enable
I think I have to do that, but I've also downloaded the four documents, so I'll send them out with a link to the recording afterwards.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. Very good. Pam?
Pam? Mute. You're muted.
My dog was barking. I was wondering if you made outreach to the Alive program at the YWC, not that they all have new babies, but I think the staff itself would benefit from this information and access to the materials.
Is that the Bremerton Y?
Yeah, the YWCA, which runs the
yeah.
Alive Shelter Center.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think that's a very important group to reach out to.
yeah. Thank you. I know that's on our list. We have a number of agencies that we want to keep contacting.
It's quite a lengthy list.
I'm sure you do.
Busy.
Yeah.
But I was just looking at the most at risk.
Yeah.
Which is also mostly domestic violence.
Yeah.
This is
While I have the floor, I also asked, what can the rest of our league members do to help you? I like the idea if you can give these gift baskets to all the new moms at the hospital, and if there's some way that can be developed and supported by the rest of the league members.
Well, now that we've made contact with the social workers, I think we'll see what we can do through them. They might be receptive to it, but it might just take time. You have to kind of get people used to the idea and thinking about it, and then get back to them. It doesn't always happen, just right overnight.
Yes.
It's certainly something that we want to do, and we now have contact there, and that'll be helpful. So we'll keep on trying.
Yeah. We've also reached out to the birthing centers There's a couple of birthing centers in the county and trying to make contact with them and see what their needs and interests are.
And the birthing centers for the midwives, is that the program?
Yeah, they had midwives. They also have doulas and medical folks there.
Catherine?
I was going to just mention one thing. There's also a very interesting group that maybe you know about or don't know about, or it's an agency, I guess. It's the West Sound East Side Baby Corner. Have you ever heard of that? Anybody ever heard of that? It does very good work, and people who cannot afford clothing for their children, or who they come there and they're able to get children clothing in various sizes. And it's really quite a large place. I was very surprised when I went over there, and I plan to take over some of the flyers that we've just had printed up to them, I think probably at the end of the week. So.
Catherine?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the state board just approved a new member of our state lobby team. And she's going to be the issue chair for children's issues, which covers a lot of territory, but it would be good for you to make contact with her, and I'll try and send her information. I think her name is Janet Hedgecock or Hick. Yeah, I think it's Hedgecock. Anyway, that will be a way with working with what's going on in the state legislature and what interest it might be.
That would be very important to us. And thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, and that position has been empty for several years. So we haven't had anybody working children's issues.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're very lucky now politically, because there's such an interest is beginning to develop, and there's a lot of organizations. In fact, I just ran across a new one today that the library told us about. I can't remember the name right now, but it comes out of the University of Chicago, and they have programs. So it's a good time to be pushing for early childhood.
Lenny and Bob?
I wanted to congratulate you for putting together a really up-to-date program and information. It's been quite a while since I was actually working a lot with babies and mothers, but we were always making a big emphasis on how important these early years were. Started out as something before kindergarten, lower level, getting pushed down and down and down until what you do now, the 0 to 3, is really, that's the appropriate age group. I'd also comment that, a lot of these things are directed toward mothers. And of course, mothers are the very most important person in these children's lives, but grandfathers and fathers, have a role too. You don't need to have a lot of credentials to read to a baby or talk to them, and encouraging that involvement from the very beginning, is important.
That's an excellent point.
I also wanted to mention, I just wanted to mention something about our flyer. The first 3 agencies really are devoted to more indigent people, but from the other agencies really cover just about anybody that is raising a child. Particularly the iLabs are really important and have a lot to say about raising children. And then we have something called Room, and that is got some very interesting information. And then there's other, as I said, I've just found out about the University of Chicago, which I didn't know about, which we really should at least add to the information we have on the website. So there's a lot happening out there, and it's very interesting. So we hope a lot of good comes out of it. Thank you.
Maury?
Yeah, I sort of want to piggyback on what Bob said. I think it was an excellent program. The way you navigated, with the technologies, it shows you practiced, and I think it looks really, really well, looks good. And I know that you want to do this with other organizations. Number one, I give the thumbs up, public release, all that stuff, go for it. It's cool. But, we also would like to see it. So I think it should also just be a regular, league presentation, even though we're not an organization that is so directly involved with childhood development. I think it would be great to get this a presentation into our video library, maybe not today's, but this, do it. Also, I don't know whether you can do this or not, but you are one of the committees that have produced some really quality materials. And I think it would be really cool if you could draft up sort of an outline or history of your journey. So it could be used as other committees could look at it and say, that's a really good approach to take. Or you could tell in your history what not to do because it was a waste of time or something. But that would be, for behind the scenes, for other committees to review on the steps taken, the research. I think you must have been really fortunate to have those that can do research, because you've done a lot of research, that's for sure. But I think that would be very cool. And I wrote some other notes that I'll send to you.
Great, good. We appreciate that.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
If there are no more questions, Delight, you had a question?
I was really distressed at the data point that you had, that I think only 47% of young children are read to regularly, because I think that is such a critical thing. And I wonder if there's any way that we could focus on that as a project from this. I don't know. I'm picturing League Women volunteering to meet with mothers and young children and reading with them. Because I think a lot of the young mothers probably are hesitant to read. My field was adult basic education. And if you're really not a very good reader, how do you read to your child? And then there's also the research that's being done on having, this is older children, like 5 to 10-year-old children reading to dogs, and how effective that can be. But how can we get that data point increased? That's a horrible one to me.
I think what the early start, and also the nurse family partnership, this is what they try to get across to mothers. It's all part of the package that they try to get out to mothers. I don't know. I think I agree with you. It's extremely important, but I don't know how we could take part in it except to encourage through the library, which we want to do. So,
to me, the problem is people who are low-level readers are not library users.
Right. That's true.
I think we have to figure out a way to get to those people who are not going to be accessing the library, or not going to be doing it, if we want to have an impact. Eastside Baby Corner you mentioned, and I do know something about it. I don't know, you sort of implied that one could go there and get clothes oneself. My understanding is there's sort of a warehouse to a number of other agencies.
Really?
Can request clothing, can say we've got a need. And I know when I was looking into it, they said they were often giving out about 500 requests a week. So it's a wonderful thing, but I pictured it sort of like a Costco warehouse for diapers and formula and small children's clothes and everything. And then an organization says, we have this need for a family or something. And then Eastside Baby Corner fills that need for the other organization that's doing the direct service. So I'm thinking, how could we get through them to the direct service agencies?
Well, just explore, Delight, this is every time we turn around, we learn something new. I mean, it's endless. It truly is endless. So, but we keep trying, and I'm going out to deliver some flyers. In fact, I intend to at the end of this week. Hopefully, I'll get there. Maybe next week. But at that time, I'll discuss a little bit more with them.
Good. The reason I know something about it is, I'm very involved, as Colette is, with the Women's Giving Circle of the Kitsap Peninsula. And we give grants. And for 2 years running, we funded the maximum request that they gave. So I've heard their reports and everything. If you go to the Women's Giving Circle website, you can see their actual report on what they do.
Oh, great.
So I'll give a little pitch for our thing. One of the things I love is the organization that receives funding 1 year later has to report on how that funding was used. And we record that and have those videos available on our website.
Oh.
So that's a way to learn more about a number of these organizations that serve women and children.
Tell me the organization again.
It's the Women's Giving Circle of the Kitsap Peninsula. It is in fact a committee of the Kitsap Community Foundation.
Kitsap Peninsula.
So you can put that in, and then you'll see sort of in the homepage middle left, it'll have something like see more of what we do, and then it's a click through to see the videos. But they're really moving to me.
Yeah, good. Well, we'll look into it.
I just want to piggyback on what some of the other things that have been said. Your contact with the hospital social workers, I think, will be a very fruitful one to pursue in terms of addressing both the point that Delight said about parents of newborns. And I really want to emphasize what Bob is saying. We had a friend who used to, he's like, I can't read, whatever to my kids. But as a new dad, he read the New York Times every night to his children. And it was more hearing his voice and the vocabulary. And then they would make some noise and then he would interact with them. So I think using the hospital social workers and say, so how can we do more of this connecting with, and I know you provide context because they're going to be focused on housing, food, clothing, diapers, that kind of stuff. That's their push, but they're very interested. And not everybody can be part of the Nurse Family Partnership, but there are lots of very educated dads out there who don't realize that they should talk to the babies.
Yeah.
Avenue to pursue.
I'd like to follow up on that. I would hope that maybe you could come up with a flyer just for dads, because they realize they're look
Hey,
at
Pam,
it.
do you have something over your
Am I
microphone?
off again?
No, you're not muted. It looked like maybe you'd put your hand over your microphone or something.
Oh,
Something went over the mic.
whatever. Anyway, I'd like to follow up and agree with both Bob and Lenny said. I think you might want to think about a specific flyer for dads, because my thought is they look at all the materials you have and they say, well, that doesn't apply to me. And so having a flyer that is specific for dads, for handouts and so forth, but indicating the importance of them and how they can help mom. And one of the big things is to read to the baby.
Well, that's where Alicia will be very helpful. I don't know what we do without Alicia.
All of us.